So this week we read several excerpts from Friedrich Nietzsche's writings. He was a thinker in the late 1800s, and it looks like his viewpoint was mostly pessimistic as far as his outlook on life. He, he saw things in a way that led him not knowing. He basically seemed to prove that nothing really existed outside of what we can see, touch, taste, or feel, or smell. Based off our experiences is the only way that we can know objective truth, basically, that we couldn't, that we only knew what we could objectively put our hands on and about with our senses, whether it be hearing it, smell it, taste it, touch it, those kind of things. I think that his idea here in all of his writings was to tear down the idea of reasoning, to tear down the idea that we're, as humans, are somewhat different or special than the animals. You can kind of see his idea of Darwin's theories in some of his writing, as he says that humans really aren't who we think we are. We just have this thing, and because we have this thing, it seems to be special, although it's really not special. That we're still acting on the principles of which we think we know something more than we know. And so basically, he sees truth in his idea of truth. I'm talking about reality, metaphysics, all these things. He sees these things as, if I had to sum all of his writings up, is it is what it is. Basically, if I see it that way, then that's the way it is. This is very dangerous in our society now. I think this particular mindset is running rampant in our society now because people think that their truth is what their emotions, led by their experiences, lead them to go down desperate roads, doing crazy things, and accepting that as truth, although we all know it's a lie, that it's not real or it's made up. And reason allows us to be able to know that it's not real. And even our morality through knowing Christ helps us understand those things. And so his ideas and all of his writings show out that truth is not something that we can really know outside of something that we see, something that we experience. And everything is out of that is based off experience. There is no measure beyond what we see. And so you take truth and you say, okay, what is truth about this particular thing? Why should I tell the truth? Well, that goes in morality. I'll go with that in just a minute. But what is the truth about this thing? Well, the truth about this thing is it's not the way that I reason it. It's the fact that it is the way I see it. And there's nothing. There's no life after this one. There's no there's no compass that directs me or guides me. The thing that I'm looking at, basically, I have the idea that if he lived in today's time, he would be the kind of guy that walks around believing that he's a cat. That he, hey, I feel like I'm a cat, or this is where we get modern day people, men and women who are arguing about what gender they really are, or those kind of things, because their experiences lead them to believe that they are what they are. I think this comes from his childhood trauma of losing his dad and his brother. I think he blamed God for it, and I think he got angry with God. And look, I'm just giving my speculations, but I can see it all in his writing as he is angry, so angry that he wants to take reason out of it. Things just happen because, look, if his dad died, that means God must be good or bad, or you must start having to justify this. Now, going back to morality, he goes in and basically says, why should we have morality? We should have faith, but not faith in God, because God doesn't exist. We're happy he's dead. God's gone. And he takes scripture about Jesus and how we drink his blood and those kind of things. He's like, oh, don't that sound like the gods of old? And he tries to throw that out there, misinterpret scripture. And he does that in a way, I think, to free himself from a morality code, because without God, obviously, he said, cause we're talking about that being a slave to morals through Christianity. But the truth of the matter is, without the idea of God, there is no reason for us to be moral whatsoever. We become like the animals. Murder is not really a problem. Taking someone else's wife is not really a problem. While you're married, sleeping with somebody else, not a problem. Morality only comes if there's a measure at which we measure morality. And he's like, well, in order to do that, we must reason through it. So we reason through that, then obviously morality must have some kind of standard. Well, it can't be God. It can't be more than what I can see, touch, taste, feel, or smell, or hear. So if that's the case, then morality must not really exist. And if we're going to have faith, let's have faith in what we can see, the empirical things that we can touch, feel, or smell. It must be an objective truth. And then we really don't have to tell somebody what we find unless we just feel like we should. And so a lot of issues with what Nietzsche teaches, although it is a modern day, you see it in our society all over the place. All right, two questions. I want to ask you, do you think that his viewpoint, the way that he looks at life, comes from his childhood trauma of losing his father and his brother and being raised by his mother and sisters? Also, real curious, in his running from the idea of God, because he's running from it. He doesn't believe that God's dead. He's celebrating that God's dead. Obviously, he lived a horrible life, suffered from diseases and things like that. I mean, miserable guy. And so, looking at his life, do you think he's running from God so that he can experience some immorality freedom, or basically freedom from morality, so he can go do what he wants to, live life up and live it to the fullest? Is that why he doesn't believe in God, or why he writes the way he does? Because if there is really a truth out there, if there really is a moral code, and we can know that moral code, or we can know that reality, and it's bigger than just what we experience in the moment, in the day, and life actually means something, then all of a sudden I can't just do what I want to do. Could that be the way that he views life, and that's why he runs from God?